Mary Omatiga here today with Ilona Maher. Ilona, thanks so much for taking the time to join me today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just hanging out.
So great to see you. Let's get started. So, I know you were a three-sport athlete growing up. How did you get into rugby and what drew you into the sport?
Yeah, I mean, all my life I was playing sports because my dad really pushed us into it. So I played basketball, feel like softball, and then my senior year of high school, I was kind of didn't really want to play softball anymore. And my dad, he's been a rugby guy. He's played rugby for like almost 40 plus years now. And so I was like, Dad, I don't want to play softball. And he just kind of said, well, you got to do something. And so there's a local high school team that had a rugby club. And so I went and just played there. And it like literally the sport fit my body like a glove. It was just like I went out in the field and like knew it. I just kind of understood it from the beginning and then kind of progressed. And I'm all here I am now.
Yeah, you talked about your dad's involvement in the sport. How did that influence your decision to play, and what was it like growing up with your dad playing rugby?
I think, it's kind of a big motivator to make your parents proud in anything. Like I did nursing. My mom's a nurse. I went to the medical field for her. And then my dad loves rugby. He still coaches, refs it, has even played it. So to me, it was like to make him proud. It gave us something to talk about too. So like, in our discussions, we're talking about plays I did. I'm talking about laws of the game. It's just really a motivator for them and just to kind of give back for all her hard work they did for me.
You ended up playing at Quinnipiac, where you won the M.A. Sorensen Award for the National Player of the Year, but you transferred after one season at Norwich. What led you to Quinnipiac?
So, I mean, I think for me, Norwich, it was a great start to my rugby, I think, journey because it was from up from a club high school to Norwich, and I think I really learned a lot, expanded there, but it just wasn't a fit for me. And then we played Norwich during the season, and I scored like 3 tries in that game. So I remember I emailed the coach, and I was like, "Hey, I'm that girl who I used to wear a pink scrum cap. I wore the pink scrum cap, and I scored 3 tries against you." I told her that, and she was like, "I think we got connected, and went through all the NCAA processing to like chat." But I went and visited the school. They had a great nursing program, I think was the main thing why I picked it, because I didn't want to give up one or the other. I think if I was going to give up either, it would be give up the rugby because I think nursing was, going to be maybe more stable. And then I had a lot of family in Connecticut. So I went and toured it and just immediately really loved it and loved what I could do there. And then made the decision to transfer once I got accepted.
How would you say your time at Quinnipiac shaped you as the athlete and person you are today?
I think what was cool about that program is it was treated like a very D1 NCAA program. So like we were up for 6:30 a.m. lifts. We had all our gear given to us. We had to match. So it was very strict, almost even I dare say even stricter than the program I have now. But I think that was something I thrive in, that sort of strictness, because that's how I always grew up being coached. So it really helped me. And also my coach allowed me to do the rugby and the nursing, which I think is very hard because with nursing, I would have to miss like 2 days a week to go do a 12-hour clinical shift. And then I'd have to, miss this day or come late to this day. So she was very understanding. So allowing us to thrive in many different areas and not just like, oh, you're only a rugby player, like understanding that we're much more than that.
Yeah, how were you able to balance doing the two? I mean, 12-hour clinicals sounds like a lot.
I just think that it was like, I want to do both. And so I made it my mission to do both. And it wasn't easy, but I also didn't find like I had to sacrifice a lot. Like everyone's like, you have to sacrifice so much. I was like, I worked very hard for it, but I also really enjoy the hard work aspect of it. And I enjoyed like going to the clinicals and then having to rush to, I love doing things. I think keeps my brain busy. It wasn't easy all the time. I mean, I think when I made the decision that I wanted to play for the USA team in my senior spring, it was like, I would go to clinicals and I'd come back to a running session, or I would do a 5 a.m. lift and then go to clinicals, come back. So it was definitely busy, but if I put my mind to something and I want to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah. After college, I know that you said you felt like you still had more to give to the sport of rugby. Did you ever think that you'd be an Olympian when you joined that national team?
It really never crossed my mind, but like I think for a lot of female athletes, right, you don't ever think that. You don't play sports really to be a professional because it's just not a path you can go on. Um, so I think it was always just like maybe in the back of my mind, like, oh, maybe I could go to the Olympics, maybe I could play professionally, but it was never something like it would be almost dumb as a woman to when I was young, and even now to like think, oh, I'll be a professional athlete because it's so hard for us in this landscape. Like it's not like it's the NFL, MLB. There's so many teams. There's not a lot of availability and opportunity for that. So like I always had it in the back of my head, but I didn't get my hopes up. And then it was kind of like as I started to play more with Quinnipiac, as I started to see like people were taking notice of me, I was like, okay, maybe this is possible. And then I just kept it in the back of my head, like didn't say it to anybody. I was like, okay, I want to go to the Olympics, and then just kept working and, doing the little things to get there.
Take me back to the Tokyo Games. You went viral for really giving people a behind the scenes look into the Olympics and just being hilarious and very relatable. But what do you remember most from your experience?
I remember how hard it was after, honestly, because it's so interesting that you spend, your whole life or like 4 years just training for this event. And it's like all you think about the Olympics. Everyone puts so much pressure on the Olympics, right? It's the biggest event in the world. And then you play 3 days, 6 games, and it's done. And then you go home and you're like, okay, so wait, now I have to wait a whole another 4 years to play in this again, to maybe redeem myself. So how short it was. So kind of made me think like, okay, you really got to start staying present every moment, everything in between the Olympics, every tournament I go to in between the Olympics. And then when I get to the Olympics, just like not putting as much pressure as I did on it, I think.
You kind of just touched on it a little bit, but I watched a TED Talk that you recently did, and you said that the Olympic Games are filled with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. We've all seen the highs, but can you kind of talk a little bit more in depth about those lows and how exactly you dealt with them?
Yeah, there's a great documentary I think that Michael Phelps is in, The Weight of Gold. And it's something I didn't realize, but I actually watched this. It's that something called post-Olympic blues, right? It's that here you are on the most amazing stage in the world, and then so much is expected of you. You've trained your whole life for this. And then if you don't win a medal, even if you do win a medal, it all just like, all right, you're done. And then you come crashing down. So that was very tough. And I think a lot of Olympians feel that way because it's like you put your whole body on the line for this one moment and then it's over. So trying to deal with that can be very tough. And for me, I had a hard time dealing with it, but I, dealt with it with my family and with my sports psych, with my teammates. So
how would you sum up your Olympic experience in one word and why?
Well, transformational. Because I think it really did transform my life because I became the Olympic TikToker, and people took notice of it, not only of me, but of my sport. And that was like my main goal going into it, to get more eyes on my sport. So it really was like, it's kind of interesting, people do say you can go into the Olympics and then come out a completely different person. So not that I came out a different person, but like I gained so many followers, I gained some more notoriety. So definitely it transformed myself, even my career, how I make money now, my influence.
Would you say that you have a favorite memory from the games? And if so, what is it?
Honestly, it's just being there with my teammates. Like when we got in, you get all these bags of gear, from Ralph Lauren and Nike, and we're just in our rooms with our roommates, like going through all this stuff, and we're pulling it out. I put on the hat, and then we're showing each other what we got. And we're so excited. Like it was like Christmas morning, honestly, going through all the clothing.
Oh, I love that. What did having the opportunity to represent Vermont, your home state, in Tokyo mean to you, and what was it like when you came home?
I mean, that was just so cool because Vermont's not known for our athletic prowess, I guess, in a way. We're not known to have build the best, even though we do have some of the best from our state. But I love Vermont. I love the place I grew up, the people there. So that was just awesome to represent. I was one of only 2 Vermonters at the Olympics. The other one was a long distance runner. And it just felt so good. And then when I did get home, I'd be on like the street downtown and be like, oh, are you the Olympic? And I was like, that's me. the one Vermonter. So it just means the world because I love Vermont and I'm so proud to represent it.
For the people that aren't from there, how would you describe Burlington, Vermont, and what makes it feel like home?
I think Burlington, Vermont, to me, just let's think. When I think Burlington, Vermont, I think of farmers markets. I think of walks in the fresh air. I think of the beautiful lake we have. I just think of more of a slowness to it, not like a fast pacedness, not a rush to get anywhere. A love for good food, good drink, just a feeling of of home for me and of like welcome.
Switching gears, you broke your ankle this year. What happened? How are you feeling now? And what has the recovery process been like?
Yeah, so I broke my ankle just playing touch. It wasn't even like it was a contact scrimmage. I just kind of somebody came into me and I fell weirdly on it and I broke my fibula and then displaced the ankle bones. So I had to get a nail in my fib and I have a couple metal pieces keeping my ankle together. It's been tough, but honestly, injury is a part of sport, but and a part of life as well. I think like people are like, oh, well, you play rugby, it's a very high contact, dangerous sport. But I'm like, I actually know somebody who broke her ankle walking off the curb. So I don't just attribute that to the rugby because I think there's so many ways you can hurt yourself. But it's been good. I'm now walking on it, and so I'm blessed with having all full-time trainers and PTs and ATs and massage therapists that I can go to every day. So my recovery has been really good. Working with them, the best in the world, and our season is done because my team has qualified for the Olympics. So we just qualified for Paris 2024. So that's kind of like, okay, I can chill now. We don't have to worry about qualifying. We can just work on getting better for the next Olympics.
Speaking of that qualification, you watched that from home. What were the emotions you were experiencing in that moment?
My main goal this season was to qualify. Like it kept me up at night because to me, qualifying wasn't just for myself and my team now, it was for all the future players to come in because a lot of it depends on qualifying, like our funding, stuff like that. So it didn't feel like it was just for me. It felt like it was for others. So like it kept me up like, well, okay, if we don't qualify, we're gonna have to do this. And then if we don't do that, maybe we can do this. So it was so stressful, but like we just stuck to the plan and really put ourselves in a great position this season to qualify. And then my main goal was to be able to stand in front of a sign that said we qualified. And then I wasn't able to do that because I was injured, but to be there, my teammate was doing it for me. They just were awesome. And I was sad to see it, but I was so happy that we just qualified because I think it now means we can focus on other things.
Congratulations on earning that spot. What would having the opportunity to represent the U.S. at your second Olympics mean to you, especially since the U.S. women's team has never won an Olympic medal?
I think that's where, for me, I'm going to try to stay present in every moment this season because, as I found, the Olympics are such a short event, but I get to travel the world with these girls before the Olympics and I get to, make memories with them. So really just stay present throughout that whole time. And then when I go to the Olympics, I think I've really been learning every time how I'm going to deal with the Olympics because it's so tough. So just like practicing, or just when I'm at the Olympics, really understanding that this is a great event, but this isn't who you are and it doesn't define who I am, and just cherishing the moments I make.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to the most in Paris?
Well, in Paris, hopefully we get our families there. And that was something that's so much different than Tokyo because in Tokyo, it was the welcoming ceremonies was an empty stadium and you walk out and you were just kind of like waving to nobody. And then in our stands for the games, it was silent, So I think it would just be, that's what I'm excited for my families to experience in Olympics and to be there cheering for me. That would be what I'm just like most excited for.
Switching gears, I want to talk about body image. Personally, you exude so much confidence, but I saw a heartbreaking TikTok that you posted a few months ago where you were in tears talking about the subject. Can you kind of talk about some of this criticism you've received and how you dealt with it?
Yeah, so I think like many muscular, broad women, it's kind of against the norm of, I think we're told all our lives that being a woman means being tiny, petite, pretty, but for me, that's just not who I am. That's never who I am. I'll never be that tiny, petite woman. I'll be this big, muscular woman. And so it's something that I'm really passionate about because, and I was just talking to somebody yesterday about it, I don't feel like I'm doing this body positively really for myself, but it's for the other young girls, like for even my high school self who would have really loved to see somebody like this praising their body, showing them what they can do. It's for the other young girls who are constantly being called masculine because they're strong, because they like being strong. So I think it's just, for me, by helping others, it's helping me in a way to really accept it because this is who I am, and it's not going to change. And my body has done literally so much to me. It's gotten me to the Olympics. It's gotten me to many tournaments. It's made me one of the best rugby sevens players in the world. So the fact that I still criticize it sometimes, just like, why would you do it? So it's kind of a balance of like appreciating, loving your body.
Yeah, I love that message. You've dealt with this really from an early age. I mean, you said that you wish that you had this example when you were in high school, but from when you were younger, you've had people telling you to throw polite passes during a game, and even having someone's dad when you were just an elementary school student telling you to slow your pitches down because nobody could hit it. Can you take me back to that day in elementary school and kind of describe those emotions?
Yeah. So I think a lot of times all sorts of, girls are raised to maybe tone it down to make it work for others, to make others feel comfortable, to make it easier for others around them. And I just remember in high school, I've always been very strong and powerful. Or in elementary school, and I was pitching a softball game, and it was fast pitch. So I was pitching a fast pitch, and none of the girls could hit on the other team. And so this coach comes out and he yells at me, or the father of one of the players comes out and yells at me. He's like, "Hey, tell her to slow it down. None of the girls can hit it." And my dad, being the man he was like, "No, this is a fast pitch league. She's gonna pitch fast pitch. These girls need to be able to hit it then." And he took out the rule book. So I just think having people around me, like my dad, like my mom, who've told me to never tone it down, has allowed me to progress to how I am today. And if I can tell others to not tone it down, maybe it'll have the same kind of pyramid effect, I guess.
Yeah. What message do you have to the people that tell you to tone it down? And what advice do you have for other people who've been told that they're too much?
I mean, it's very hard because sometimes it can be constant. And you're like, okay, do I have to start listening to this? Like many people have said this. I just kind of think like the world would be a very boring place if we were all the same, if we were all just very, neutral and didn't try to express ourselves and be a lot. I like to think I'm making the world a pretty interesting place by being that way. But it isn't always easy. And I think having a good support system around you that's telling you, no, this is who you are. Keep doing it. Don't tone it down. I mean, it's great to find it from within, but sometimes you do need a little bit outside help. So having those friends, my sisters, my mom, dad, and my friends.
Yeah. What does Beast, Beauty, and Brains mean to you?
I think as athletes, we're put in boxes sometimes. Like as a rugby player, okay, she's a rugby player. That's what she is. She's a nurse. That's what she is. But to me, I just think I like to think of myself more as a multifaceted person. Like I'm a beast on the field, but then I can also be very beautiful and I love wearing makeup. And then I also like to think of myself as smart. So like that we can be so much. We're not just one thing. We can be anything we want to be. Like even though I play a very hard hitting sport that is, was considered a man's sport, I can still be feminine and beautiful.
I love that. How has rugby changed your life specifically with how you feel about yourself?
I think what rugby has done for me is it's shown that my body is not just something to be looked at and something to be, taken. It has a purpose. Like it can run hard, tackle. It's given me a new appreciation for what my body can do, what my muscles can do. And I think can do it for a lot of other women too, to show that your body is so much more than just a thing to be criticized and viewed.
I love that you have this passion for growing the game. What do you want people to know about women's rugby?
I think that it's not just on the pitch what it does. Like what you see on the pitch is just such a small part of what rugby can actually do for your life. The social network it can give you, the community it can give you, the feelings about your body and the acceptance of any body size. It can make you feel like there's a place for you. So playing the game is such a small part of what actually rugby is.
I love that you said that there's a place for you. Do you think that there's enough representation for women within the sport? And if not, what do you think needs to be done and what would you like to see?
I think there's definitely more room for representation. I think on the 7 side, we don't have as many body sizes for sure. That's more of the 15 size has a lot of that. I think there can be more representation, especially in the U.S. of people of color. I mean, we have a couple on our team, but I think it's not showing the whole population. I think what I want from our team is to really show a representation of what America is, and it's not just this one thing. So I think for many sports, I think if we can get just more girls into it and getting these rugby all over the country and not just in like small pockets, because I think we have an opportunity there that anybody can really love the sport and anyone can excel in this sport. So I do think we have a lot more way to go. But I mean, I have such amazing teammates who are being role models for their communities as well, just like I am. So I think I'm really proud of what my teammates and I are doing to get the sport out there.
Can you talk about the financial challenges of being a national athlete for the women's rugby team? And can you kind of talk about the pressure that you felt with needing to qualify for the Olympics and how that goes hand in hand with funding?
Yeah, so I mean, as many women's sports, and then especially sport like rugby, there's not a lot of money in it. Like what you're not really selling a product right now, especially that Americans aren't really looking towards. For me, I'm now blessed with the social media and influencing, which has helped me to make more money, but a lot of my teammates aren't. So we do have to rely on very small amounts of funding. Our funding comes a lot from like sources that rely on us qualifying and going to the Olympics. So that's where we get a lot of our funding from. So for us, like we need to qualify so that we have a reason to go to the Olympics so that people can keep funding us. But it's also like, so it's very stressful because like you can't just play the sport you love and make money. There's always some stipulations to it. There's good and bad, but I think for us and for my teammates, we're not really in it for the money, at least not now. We're hopefully going to get to a point where where the other girls coming in after us can have, a good salary and live healthily. But I think that we know that right now it's probably not our time, but we're doing this because we love this game. We love what it can do for people.
To your knowledge, is there a pay inequity in comparison to the men's national teams?
I don't think there is. I've been told there isn't. So I'm not positive on that. I can't really speak on that.
Switching gears, what would people be surprised to know about the U.S. national team?
Well, I always just want us to get like a documentary series, like get a keeping up with the USA team series, because like some of the chats that we have and the personalities that we bring like are just so unique and funny. And I think if people could just get a little inside scoop onto that, they'd be like, this is, these are athletes, these are the best rugby players in the world. Like I just think we're the coolest bunch around, and like the weirdest as well, because like it's a bunch of like it's 12 women who go on a tournament and they all have different personalities and just they're weird ways they tick, but somehow they can come together and work really well and like win.
You said before every game you write in your journal, do your job. What is your job and how would you describe your role on the team?
For me, my do your job just means do what your team needs for you. So if my team needs me to make a bunch of tackles and not score anything, that's my job. If my team needs me to get meters forward and drive my legs, that's what my job is. I think for me, I got caught up one tournament because I was the star and I scored all these tries in my first tournament, and then it caught me up in the next one. Okay, I have to be that star again. And it hooks you and it kind of changes up, and you don't play like how you should. So by saying do your job, it just gets me back. Okay, you don't need to be the star. You don't need to score 7 tries. If you can just do the little things that your teammates need, you'll be successful.
Switching gears, I want to talk about your family. We talked earlier on about how this sport for you has been a family affair. Tell me about your relationship with your dad and how the sports brought you guys closer together.
I mean, I'm constantly calling him up like, hey, kid, what happens if this happens on the field? And then they take person. So he knows so much. He loves rugby. He breathes it. He reads all the law books. So for me, like just having a way to chat with him, and I'll always go to whenever I'm home, I'll go to his club rugby games, and I love just meeting the guys, and I think he gets to kind of show me off and be like, look at my daughter, she's Olympian in rugby, the sport that I grew up loving. I love doing that for him. I'll go to his practices where he coaches, and I'll give my little tidbits of knowledge and help him out. So it's been really cool, and also it's allowed for them to have more of a reason to travel. Like my dad and mom have now been to South Africa. They've been to France and Spain, Canada. So it's been cool that it's given them this reason to get out there and to get out of Vermont and to try other things.
Oh, I love that. Your mom is a nurse, and you, like you said, got your nursing degree from Quinnipiac. What does she mean to you, and how did she influence you to go into that vocation?
Well, my mom is, again, one of the most hardworking people I know, doing these like long 12-hour shifts. And I remember her coming home and being so tired, but she was like, oh, I birthed the baby today. I did this today. So that was something that always like really interested me, like that. And she worked in the ER, so she was able to see all sorts of patients. And for her, she has a way of connecting with people and helping people. And that's something that I really wanted to do, and be able to connect and help with people. So she kind of like helped me guide me on the nursing path. And though I haven't done it, I'm so thankful that I did do it. I think it instilled a work ethic in me. And even now she's somebody who I, really look up to.
What other career goals do you have? I know that you recently got your MBA as well. What do you hope to do after rugby?
It's so interesting because like here I am. I worked 4 years for a nursing degree. I just worked 2-3 years for my MBA, and I'm like, what am I even going to use them? Because I think I would love to, even when I'm done playing, still do what I can to spread the game, whether that's being in media more, a commentator on this on in some sort of way. But like I think I'll always be somehow spreading this game.
Tell me about your sisters. Describe your relationship with them.
My sisters are the lights of my life. I love them. They're some of my biggest supporters, and like they do so much for me. My older sister helps me with like all my emails and business side of things. My younger sister is so smart, and I ask her, and she can give me sorts of direction on things. We're very close, and we've kind of definitely grown to be that close. And I just think they come to my games as well, and they support me, and they are really, to have that sort of support system, I think is really very fortunate. A lot of people don't have it, to have my sisters and my mom and dad, and like they're my number ones all day.
I love that. I hope they can all be there in Paris to cheer you guys on.
Mm.
To wrap this up, we've got a little speed round for you. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
All right. So I know you don't really have a pregame ritual, but you do these like 2 jumps. Why the 2 jumps?
Well, for me, it's like if I can do those 2 jumps in the field, it means I can play. So like if I can't do 2 jumps, then I should probably not be out there. Whether it's like something's hurting or whatnot. If I can't do that, I shouldn't be on the field. It's like a check-in. Okay, I jumped twice. Okay, let's go.
What's your favorite food?
Anything my mom makes.
Finish the sentence. I'm not ready for game day without blank.
A good meal the night before.
I know you are a coffee lover. What's your go-to order at Starbucks?
I love their like cold brews with the cream on top. Woo!
So good. If rugby had walk-up songs, what would yours be?
I like Shania Twain, Man, I Feel Like a Woman.
You're singing karaoke for your life. What song are you picking to save it?
The Chicks, Goodbye Earl.
If you could switch places with any Olympic athlete for a day, who would it be and why?
I would pick Serena Williams because she's retired. So hopefully she's just chilling right now. So I'd like to just chill and just be an icon. You know what I'm saying?
Love it. Who's been your biggest fangirl follow? So has there been any celebrity or athlete that's followed you on social media that you were super excited about?
Hank Green was a big supporter during the Olympics. He like does like the funny explanation videos on TikTok, and he just loved it. He loved what I was doing, and he really was just supporting what I was doing. So that was so cool to see.
Love it. Has anyone from the Romanian volleyball team been in your DMs?
It's very sad, but no.
Not yet.
Not yet. You're right. Not yet.
Well, awesome. Ilona, thank you so much for joining me, and best of luck with your recovery and in this next year leading up to the Paris 2024 Games.
Yay. Thank you so much.